was May 6th, 2007, so it was 567. I'd started out that day riding with a buddy. We were just going to go for a short ride. We ended up down at another friend's house. So we started drinking at his house at about 10 in the morning, working on his bike. My buddy and I took off. We were going to do some more riding. Took some back roads. We decided to stop again. We stopped at another bar. Continued to drink there for a little while. Got bored there, left. Went to another bar. Drank there. It was about time to start heading back. So we went to go get our bikes. We both agreed that we weren't going to race. And we got on the bikes, and of course, as soon as we turned on the road, it turned into a wide open, full-on race. We were going probably about like 80 or 90 in a 40 zone heading out of town. And there's a cop in the parking lot right there. And we looked back, and sure enough, he was coming. Didn't have his lights on yet, but we looked at each other. And we both got down and opened them up a little bit more. And then that was the last thing I remember until I woke up in the hospital.
Okay. All right. Tell me what really happened.
So, the story that I just shared was true to the point where we went off the road, but once it was clear that the officer was going to maintain pursuit, there was a split second. I looked at my buddy and looked at him, and we were waiting to see what the other would do, if we were going to slow down and pull over, if we were going to run. And it was in that moment that we both went eyes back forward and opened up the bikes a little bit more. And in just a split of a second, I just had this wave of shame and guilt and disappointment, images and experiences of hurting people around me, friends, my girlfriend, my parents, and the disappointment in my poor choices in the past, and just closed my eyes and put my head down. What was described by my buddy is the bike and I just sailed off the road, and then at the first impact in the ditch, he said it was cartwheel after cartwheel. Every time we hit, we'd spun. I narrowly missed a car that was coming around that corner, and the car actually had a nurse in it. And so she and my buddy came running down, that poor gal, just trying to help save me while I was laying down there in the pit that I had created for myself. And I was swearing at her and cussing her out and calling her all kinds of names, just telling her to leave me alone and to let it bleed out. And I remember her just saying, "I'm sorry," over and over again, just kept apologizing. I had a 8-inch fracture on the interior one and a compound fracture on the exterior bone. Crushed my left foot, crushed my left hand. I just broke ribs. They didn't tell me how many. They just said I had broken ribs. I had a sternoclavicular separation and broke my sternum. Then I had a T5 through T9 spinous process fractures. The cop spaced it out. I had gone 200 yards and the bike went 210 yards. After that point, it's really foggy because I couldn't manage my pain. So they kept me in a Valium-induced coma, essentially. So the first week is really just a blur. Excerpts of waking up and the doctors being there and talking about options, which were to cut my leg off, actually, my right leg below the knee, but they were able to save it. The thought of admitting to people how bad I had gotten with my drinking and where that was, but then to admit that had gotten so bad that I didn't see any way out of it in that moment other than to just take my life. I'd carried that secret for years. I hadn't told anybody. It was nighttime and it was raining. We were driving back. I just couldn't take it anymore. And I'm not a big crier. My wife looked at me. She's like, "Are you okay?" And I just shook my head and I said, "No." She's like, "What is it?" And I said, I've never told you this, and I don't know how to. And she tried to stay calm and say, "Okay, what is it?" And I said, "My motorcycle accident wasn't an accident, it was an attempt." After the week of being asleep with Valium, and they finally were able to manage the pain and get some surgeries out of the way, and I had the quiet hum of all the machines behind me that were keeping my medicine going and monitoring all my stuff, and the beeping of that, and just kind of the busyness of the nurses in the hallway. And the door was slightly open so I could kind of see just a little bit of light kind of peering into the room. I was just laying there and I said, "I can't do this anymore. God," I said, "this is where I've gotten myself, living kind of in spite of him and thinking that I could just do it on my own." And I said, this is where I got myself, and I can't do it anymore. I need you to do it for me." we serve a God of chances, and that can be the second chance, third chance, the 100th chance, however many it is. He doesn't give up. It was a realization I didn't have to keep that secret, and I don't have to do it on my own. And the thing is to not lose that hope, to not give up, to think that you're in a place that's so dark or so deep that you can't tell anybody and that no one will understand, and that it's too far or too dirty for God. There is so much freedom in letting go of that shame and that guilt and talking about it. It's hard, but it's not as hard or as painful as keeping all that in and trying to bury it and carry that, because it weighs on you, and that weight expounds daily and yearly, and the longer you have to try to keep that buried, the harder it is to keep it. The rug can only hold so much.